On this episode of Internet Business Mastery, we debunk 5 common internet business myths that could be holding you back. And in the quick tip, we share an easy way to instantly position yourself as an expert.
Welcome to InternetBusinessMastery.com, where you will learn to take control, make more money, and start an internet business today. Here are your hosts, Sterling and Jay.
Hey everyone, I'm Sterling.
And I'm Jay.
And this is the show where you can discover how to take control and make more money by turning your passion and interest into a profitable internet business. You can visit freeaudiogift.com to get your hands on exclusive content that will help you start your own internet business fast. So Jay, what's up?
Well, boy, you sound pretty excited with that. What's
always?
Up? Yeah. Let's see. Well, what's got me excited lately? Reading some really good books on. Something that I've been loving lately is reading using the Kindle software. I actually use it on my iPad, and I know a lot of people have the little Kindle device, which those are great too. Like my mom has one of those, and I've seen it, and it's definitely pretty darn cool. But I don't know what it is. Like I've always resisted trying out the whole Kindle thing for a couple reasons. First, I was wondering, would it bother me to read on a digital device? And then second of all, I want to be able to highlight and write notes and things like that in a book. But I'm not even sure why I made the transition. I think there was just a book I really, really wanted right away, and I didn't want to have to wait for it to ship. So I'm like, I'm just going to get it on Kindle on my iPad. And it turns out I loved reading it that way, and actually highlighting it works really well, and notes work really well. And I can actually read faster because something about flipping pages more quickly, more often, because it might not be a full page on your screen. Like it keeps me motivated. Like I'm making lots of progress as I flip through this book. There's the instant gratification of getting, right away to your iPad. You don't have piles of books building up next to your bed that you're not getting to. So at my fingertips, anywhere I go, I instantly have any book that I'm in the mood to read right there. I don't know. I'm really digging it. So it's supplementing my learning really, really well. I don't know if you've tried reading on things like that, or if there's other things that have worked well for you with, learning quickly and learning, making learning more fun, more accessible, more efficient for you.
I haven't tried that yet. I'm still, I need to feel the paper and I highlight and I even rip things out of books and get them into my, mind maps and stuff like that. So do you know if you can print your notes and your highlighted parts?
I've been meaning to look into that if there's a way, because that would be pretty handy. I mean, the cool thing is like if one feature you can turn on is that you can have it highlight other stuff that a lot of people have highlighted. So you might be going along and it'll say 100 people have highlighted this passage. So I mean, that's kind of cool little feature. So there's kind of a social aspect to it as well. But to answer your question, I'm not quite sure. That has crossed my mind as like, I wonder if there's a way that I could have it just extract and create a document out of everything I've highlighted off of my Kindle.
Well, if anybody knows, if you could comment in the show notes, that would be awesome. That'd be cool to know about that. What I've been doing actually is listening to a lot more books. I'm doing now anywhere between, I don't know, maybe 2 and 3 books a week.
Nice.
And then also I've got one I'm usually always reading or going through as well. It's become like this just information power suck into the mind. And even better now that I've started really using the 2-speed. Like I speed things up to 1.5 speed up to 2 speed. Most things I can listen at twice the speed. And on the iPhone, of course, I can just hit a button and it does 2x. So I go double speed. And man, I'm just zipping through content now. And I mean, the key is still to be able to retain it. So depending on if the content's really good, then I usually get the book and go through it and make my highlights and make a mind map of it. But everything's 2-speed now. Even watching videos. I think you told me about something that speeds things up. It was eNounce.
MySpeed
is what it was.
Yeah,
MySpeed.
MySpeed by eNounce for videos.
And that makes it so you can watch videos at whatever speed you want. So I'm watching most videos at 2-speed now as well. It almost has gotten to the point where there's been a couple of times I've considered turning my entertainment to 2-speed. So I'm watching
The Matrix at double speed. And
yeah, I'm going, well, this show's getting a little slow. Boy, let's 2x this.
Like, why are they always slowing down the action? Yeah, it looked cool the first time. Now I just want it to be faster.
Yeah, get to it. Let's get to it quicker. So anyway, that's what I'm going through.
Nice. Well, there's a couple ideas, I guess, for people out there listening. If you want to try Kindle, whether it's on iPad or you can download the software for free on a bunch of different devices, or definitely the double speed on iPhone or different devices have that, or the eNounce My Speed. Look, we just gave people like 3 quick tips. This is packed full of information already, this episode.
There you go.
We haven't even gotten to the feature segment yet. So there you go. Well, speaking,
and we've got a quick tip.
And we still have a quick tip at the end. That's right. All right. Well, speaking of feature segment, let's go ahead and dive right into debunking some myths.
And now, the feature segment.
So, Sterling, I'm sure whenever you have the opportunity to, people ask, well, what do you do? And then you start talking about, internet business and things like that. There's always some of the same questions that come up. People are like, yeah, but what about this or what about that? And, different things that come across people's minds. So I thought it'd be interesting if we went through a few of these misconceptions about internet business, these myths that people might be harboring in their mind. It could even be holding them back, and hopefully just kind of help people over some of these things that might be a little bit of an obstacle, or something that they're just wondering about, whether it's causing a little bit of anxiety or a fear, or maybe even just subconsciously kind of causing them to not move forward in internet business and finding that new freedom with internet business. So I've chosen 5 myths here that we want to go through. These are the most common ones that we hear. So let's go ahead and start with myth number 1, and that is that it takes a lot of time to start a brand new business. And, yes, while it will take some time, this isn't like, we've always been honest about the fact that this isn't one of those, just press the easy button, a few clicks and money's going to come flowing into your bank account while you sleep and, with no effort on your part. That's not the actuality. There is some time and some dedication, as with anything of value in life, that you have to put some plan to work at it a little bit and learn some things and set things up. But the nice thing is that it definitely, as you get things set up, takes a lot less time than, say, working a 9-to-5 job. And you can, that's why we teach the kind of business always that's about automation, systems, outsourcing, so that your business can make money even if you're only working a couple hours in a day. Or even if you go on vacation for a little while, the money does keep flowing in. It's not dependent on the amount of time that you work. So detaching, that's one of the biggest things, is detaching the amount of money that you make from the amount of hours that you work. We don't want to have dollars for hours. And so, the thing I want to point out here is that the thing that's more important than the amount of time, because it is based on not dollars for hours, the more important thing, especially for somebody starting out, is that, it just takes some consistency and some persistence to get, and you can get some results just by, doing a little bit every day. The people that I know that have reached success and reached the goals that they wanted, whether through internet business or any other things, are the ones that, they decided what they wanted, and then they just consistently each day started putting some effort into that. For instance, I've started a new exercise regimen recently. And, so I was adapting to the new timing of it and when I was going to do it in the morning, and these, the certain things I was going to do during this workout. And I found that the most important thing, we've talked about forming habits on the show before. I found that the most important thing in forming this new exercise regimen and making it a habit, so it wasn't something I had to exert willpower to go and do, because often new things that do take, maybe a little more willpower to do. I found that the most important thing when I first started out was just to be consistent, and actually not even to worry about results at first. Like, am I losing enough weight? Am I gaining enough strength? Am I, seeing toning, or am I seeing an energy boost? I just, at first it was just about just doing it every day a little bit. And if I got out of the house, if I put on my exercise clothes and got out of the house and got to the gym, it counted. I counted that as a success. And after doing that for 2-3 weeks, then the intrinsic motivations, the internal motivations for wanting to do that just started showing up. It was just part of my ritual. It was something I started looking forward to because of the energy boost that I got from it. And it no longer took, that willpower. And it wasn't like, I don't have time. I don't have time to do it. So I would say that it doesn't need to take a lot of time. We're detaching the amount of money you make from the amount of time that you work, so you can make more money while still working less and less over time. And it's really about consistency that's more important in reaching your goals in internet business.
And I guess my answer would be that it depends on what you mean by a lot of time. Like, will it take the same amount of time as a full-time job? Maybe it did for me at first, since I was so gung-ho and just sucking in information and trying stuff as much as possible. But if you do it right, you can limit the time based on how you design your life. And we're really big on teaching about designing your lifestyle first, then designing the business to match the lifestyle you want. So for instance, like for me now, it's summer when we're recording this, and my day is currently not totally designed around internet business. It's part of what I do, but I also go hiking. I'm taking my kids to summer camp throughout the day, and then I have to take them to sports in the evening. I like to get an afternoon hike in, and we try and, move the business around what our life is. And, even today we're recording, and then I'm going to go pick up my daughter from her summer camp. And, then this afternoon we'll probably go hiking. I mean, there's just stuff that we design it around our life now. Doesn't mean I don't work, because I do, but I'm able to shift it and move that time around. It's not a full-time job amount of hours now. It was a bit at first, but definitely, there's another way to focus on it as well, which is lifestyle design. That and the consistency are very, very important things to think about when you're, considering or worrying about how much time it's going to take.
Yeah, so if you find that this is a worry, and you find yourself going, well, I don't have time for my internet business. Yeah, just think about consistency. Think about, the lifestyle design, that additional time you'll have down the road. And, one final thing I'd say is see what you can do to maybe remove from your language the phrase, I don't have time for that. Because usually when people say that, it's more about priorities. And so by saying, well, I don't have time for that, then we're kind of excusing ourselves from thinking about, well, what is really a priority? What do I really want in my life? And rather saying, well, I choose not to do this right now because I'd rather do this other thing. And that's, because that's the real truth of the matter. So there's a few tips when it comes to the idea of, well, it just takes too much time, or I don't have time. All right, number 2, it takes a lot of money. Well, the truth is that one of the reasons we love teaching internet business is that you can get started for so very little money. I remember at first when I had read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I was thinking about, well, what am I going to, I knew I couldn't be an employee anymore. It's like, well, I know I need to figure out some kind of investing or business owning or entrepreneurship that's going to, I got to get some more of that in my life, because that's what's going to get me the freedom and the lifestyle and the kind of wealth that I want for myself and my family. But, they talk about network marketing, or they might talk, you hear people talk about, well, real estate investing. You might hear people talk about starting a franchise. And, a lot of these things can take a whole lot of money. I know you've looked into franchises way back when, right, Sterling?
Oh, yeah. Talk about not a big return on investment compared to internet business.
Right. But the truth is you can start an internet business, while most businesses, they could take significant amount of investment. You might have to go to other people to get the money to put into them, so that you can then just hope to finally be profitable in a year or 2 years. In fact, a lot of businesses take 2 years before they're even profitable. Internet business, you can get started for about $100 or less, and you can be profitable in no time at all. I mean, almost right away, you're profitable because you're not having to sink going into a whole bunch of debt just to get the business started. So while, yes, a lot of businesses do take a lot of money to get started, internet business is not one of those, because, you just need a bit of hosting, which is super cheap, a couple other tools, and off you go. And all of the marketing and traffic and things like that we teach, and all the product creation, you can do all those things for absolutely free, no money input on your part. So it doesn't have to take a lot of money to get started in internet business.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I was thinking back, and we started Internet Business Mastery for under $500, which I think is not a bad investment.
Yeah, it's turned out pretty well for us.
Yeah, and we of course teach how to do that in the academy. And at $500, would be buying every tiny little tool you could possibly ever use, even before you need it. So it's definitely a lot less that you can do when you get started.
Yeah, I think in the academy we've added it up, and it's under $100 for somebody to get going. So yeah, so just definitely not something you have to worry about. All right, myth number 3: to make money, you have to teach how to make money.
Yeah, I hear this constantly.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's funny when people say, well, you're only making money because you're teaching people to make money. And so all you're doing, so how do I make money if I'm not teaching people to make money? And I can see why at first it might seem that way. And certainly, I mean, the reason why we started a business that's teaching about internet business is because we were doing internet business successfully, and it was something that we enjoy. This is what we love. This is what we have a passion for. I mean, we don't condone just chasing the money and just choosing a niche purely based on the amount of money that it'll make you, because in the end, that's not going to be an adequate enough of a motivator. You need to have, other passions and interests and reasons for doing and choosing the niche that you have for your internet business. And when I think about some of the biggest success stories that we've had from the academy and our coaching courses, it's people that are outside of the making money, outside of internet business or how to start a small business or social media traffic, all those things that people think of. It's like, oh, well, in order to make money, it has to be internet marketing related. And I think that connection gets made just because, obviously they're learning from somebody who's teaching internet marketing. And so they see what that person's doing and they're going, oh, well, then that's what I have to do is that same thing. But that's just not the case. The money is in solving people's pains, whether that's related to money and business or whether that's related to health or whether that's related to relationships or whether that's related to hobbies that people are, just irrationally passionate about, like golf and things like that. There's a lot of different niches and a lot of money to be made out there in all sorts of different things. And so you definitely don't want to let that hold you back either. And actually, one other thing I would add is that there's a heck of a lot less competition outside of the making money niches. So, if you try to, well, I'm just going to start a business teaching internet business, well, now you're competing against all the other people who already know internet marketing really well and internet business really well. But say if you teach knitting, you go into the knitting market, well, actually, there's very few people who know the things that we teach in this internet marketing world, the kinds of low cost, highly effective marketing skills, the content creation, all the kinds of things that we teach in the academy. In the knitting market, well, nobody's doing that. Or you might go into a foreign language market and nobody's doing that. And so the moment you come in with these powerhouse things that you're not going to learn at any MBA school or any entrepreneurial school, you can go in there and really have a leg up because nobody else is using those kinds of tactics. So you're actually better off going into other niches than the making money niche.
It's kind of funny you mentioned, as you were talking about knitting, it reminded me last week I actually took my daughters to a school I might be putting them in this fall. And one of the things they were doing is they had gone and found a site about knitting. And they were actually, the teacher was just showing the kids the videos and learning knitting herself and helping them based on her learning. So it's just
nice.
like this little side class that they were doing, learning how to knit. And I'm just going, and when she says, oh, what do you do? And I said, kind of teaching people how to do that, showing how to make those
right.
videos. And she's like, what? And then I was like, and I know people that do all sorts of stuff that we could get access to their material and you could teach it through your class. And then she was all excited. But I wanted to actually list some of the other business types we've seen others do that we've helped with. And that's health and fitness, life insurance agents, philosophy, drawing and sketching, how to do many different languages, how to play guitar and a lot of other instruments, electric bikes, alternative medicine, and even a comedy podcast that makes the comedians a full-time living. Those are just a couple, that I thought of when I sat down to write this down, just right off the top of my head. Do you remember some others?
Let's see. I know somebody, one of our academy students that recently just quit her job, and her niche is all about beading, using beads, for different crafts and making things. So, she's selling instructional videos and kits and things like that about beading. So that's an interesting one that comes to my mind. I know we had somebody recently in the academy that is teaching 1-minute music lessons. Another guy that's doing dueling pianos. I thought that was a really interesting one. I'd never heard of that one before. So lots of opportunity out there. So you don't need to teach about making money in order to make money with internet business.
Yeah, and a lot of some of those categories might have, if anybody there, one or two there. So the competition is small. You can get in and do some of the things we teach and do things a little different than the other guys and really take over in the same way as, we came into the internet business niche on iTunes and was able to go to first place really quickly by doing things different and doing things the way we teach them. and was able to just take that over, even though it's a massive niche. Imagine a smaller niche you'd be able to take over easily. And I've seen many of the people in the categories I mentioned just a little bit earlier take over incredibly fast. If you just know the right little things to do, and then they're making their income from it. I mean, it's just amazing.
All right, myth number 4 is that starting an internet business is risky. I know a lot of people worry about that risk up front. I did as well. I can definitely remember worrying about all the different risks of quitting my job. And, was I going to end up, running out of money? Was I going to end up, feeling like a fool because I had quit my job and decided to pursue business? Really, in the end, I think all it was about me being afraid that, it wouldn't work out the way I hoped, and I was just afraid of not being comfortable. We put this high premium on our comforts in life and the kinds of things, having our cable TV and having our, being able to eat out every weekend, or, all the different things that, these are nice things in life. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have these things. But, when I thought about it, I'm like, there are a lot of things I'd be willing to go without right now in order to pursue this ultimate goal of more freedom and more control in my life and making a higher salary. I mean, I make many, many, many times more than I did as an employee now, and I definitely wouldn't trade at all the supposed risks that were taken along the way. But in hindsight, when I think about it, actually the route that I took was the far less risky route. I mean, is employment less risky? Well, I think the last few years in the economy have shown that really, if anything, being beholden to a job and a boss, and whether or not they decide to let you keep that job, or whether or not they decide to give you a raise, or whether or not they decide to give you a demotion or a reduction in your pay, having the place that you have to live because you have to have a job. I mean, to me, I think it's a much higher risk to live my life such that another 5, 10, 15 years go by and I realize, I have no passion for what I'm doing, or I'm not living where I'd really like to live, or I'm not learning the kinds of things that I'd like to learn, and I'm not growing as a person or working with the kinds of people I'd like to work with. That was the scariest risk to me, was thinking ahead to what if I, look back and just feel like I haven't achieved any of those things for myself. I can remember a moment when I was living in New York City, and it was during that time that all of a sudden, I mean, as you can imagine, New York City, one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in. So, there's this additional pressure to need to make more money just to afford living there. Was doing, internet business and making money at that, also doing some consulting and making really good money at that as well. And all of a sudden I realized that it had been a while since that worry of what if I have to go back and get a job? That's that little nagging thing that even after I quit my job, it's still always been there for, still several months or even a year or two after the fact of what if I have to go back and get a job? Which, sometimes that happens and that's not a big deal. But all of a sudden I realized that at this one moment in New York City that little nagging feeling had just disappeared. It had gone away. And I went to my computer and I deleted my resume, the Word doc that had whatever my last resume was that I had made. And at that moment I thought, what? I'm never going to have to make a resume again. I now have 100% confidence in my ability to make money. Even if this business crashes right now, even if all my income streams went away today, I know that I could be making money again within a week or two just from my own ideas and skills that I have learned since quitting my job. And in that moment, I realized the path that I'd taken was the far less risky path, because now I had complete control over my own circumstances. I didn't have to worry about, could I go find another job? Who might want to hire me? What kind of salary would I have to take? Would I have to work with people I didn't like? Would I have to do things I didn't like? Those worries completely disappeared. And so, that was true comfort and security and freedom, I feel like, in that moment. And, I'll never forget that moment.
Yeah, I think the thing that I would add is just simply that the way I consider it all now, compared to working hours for dollars, is basically it's hours for solutions or hours for ideas. So like I have an idea, and put it out there based on asking people first, not wasting time with it until I see that it's of value. And then we get paid based on our ideas and our solutions rather than just being somewhere physically.
And the thing is that people might have a worry, I guess, that you're totally right. And I think the worry people might have is, well, I don't have an idea. I'm not going to have enough ideas. And again, I remember being there. And that's a really interesting, it's just this strange paradox that if you go into that scarcity mindset of, well, I don't have ideas, I don't have enough ideas. And so you hold back and wait until you finally have an idea that you feel is good enough. For whatever reason, just the way the subconscious works, the way the idea generator of the brain works, the way the universe works, physics, science, whatever you want to call it, you're not going to be granted any more ideas. Part of why I knew in that moment that I never have to go get a job again is because I had taken the leap, dove in, and just started implementing. It's a speed of implementation of my ideas. And as fast as I could put ideas together, I was doing that. And suddenly more and more ideas kept coming. And not all the ideas worked out. But I knew that I was going to be able to, just more ideas would come down the road. It wasn't like I had a limited supply that my brain was going to be able to cook up. And also that I was able to implement those fast enough that I would be just fine. But it wasn't until I dove in and just started doing that confidence finally kicked in, and I realized, no, there's no risk at all. In fact, the risk has finally gone away. All right, myth number 5, and this may be the biggest one holding people back, and I don't know that people consciously tell themselves this, but I know people have this back in their subconscious somewhere. Again, because I was there and realized that for some reason I was believing this myth, which definitely, if you have this myth stuck in your brain, it is going to hold you back. And that is the myth that you only get one shot. I know a lot of beginning internet entrepreneurs feel like, well, and it kind of goes into that thing about ideas I was just saying. It's like, well, I'm only going to get one good idea, one shot. And so I got to wait until it's just the right idea, because if that idea doesn't work out, then that's it. It's all done. And I'm going to just, then I'll be really disappointed because it didn't work out. I'll have to go back and get a job, or I'll have to, admit that I had made a mistake, or, and I know these are heavy things for our human psyche, because I get caught up in them sometimes as well. In fact, often.
Well, and let me just say real quick, the other side of that is, they just try one thing. They actually get it all together and get their courage up to try one, and it fails, and they go, oh, internet business doesn't work.
After the one.
You know what I mean? Like, one thing, that was it. I tried the most obscure way of doing macrame, and for some reason, I gave it 3 days, and it didn't make me $1 million, so I'm done. That was my one shot.
Yeah, and you have to learn to have that confidence in the fact that you're going to have a lot of different ideas that are going to come to you. And it may not, in fact, chances are the first idea that you have that you start with will not be the one that you're doing in a few years. The first ideas I had, I don't even remember what some of them were, but the first one that I really got to making a product on and putting out there was in the real estate niche. And it did fine. It made me some money. And I learned a heck of a lot, and it's, where I gained confidence. It's like, wow, look, I just made money on the internet. But at the same time, I realized I'm not really fulfilled by doing this. I need to find something else. But there was definitely other money-making ideas that I tried, and that failed. And the interesting thing is, I'm actually off the top of my brain trying to remember some of them. And, the good news is that memory fades on a lot of those things that didn't work out.
Well, I remember, too, that I was considering and looked into scuba diving and sugar gliders. And here's the funny thing, like I did look into doing them, and didn't find a way to make it work, because of course I wasn't actually looking through a system and trying, I was doing it all on my own without having the, knowledge or buying a course at the time. And the funny thing is I finally went, I guess maybe those two aren't just places that, people will pay to know about. Now we cut forward here, maybe 6 years later, and both of those, I don't know the people personally, but I know are profitable industries. I just didn't know how to do it, right? Like, so it was actually my knowledge, and at the time I hadn't bought a course or anything to teach me how to do it. It was just my lack of knowledge. And then I said, oh, well, they're not profitable niches. And was totally proven to be wrong as people are making money from both of those niches now.
Absolutely. So, the thing that you have to remember with this, it's kind of like, I know, and I'm not a huge baseball fan, but from what I did collect baseball cards for a while back in 7th grade. I spent about a year collecting baseball cards. And of course, on the back of a baseball card, you have all the statistics for a player. So, it's like their batting average and things like that. And, so for how many times they went to bat, how many times they actually hit the ball, and how many times they actually, score a run or get to a base and things like that. And the truth is that it's like a 0.3 something is actually a pretty good batting average for a player. And so we're talking 30 some odd % of the time that it actually works out for them, hitting the ball or making a run, getting to a base. I mean, think of how many times there's a foul ball, how many times there's a strike, how many times they're just, out. And it's, it can be that way with internet business as well. And so you have to learn to just get in there, implement fast. If it's going to fail, let's just figure it out fast and move on. And it's not a failure because you learned a lot of things, and then you piggyback off of that into the next idea. And it's really about going to bat as much and as fast as you can, because eventually you will get a single or a double or a triple or even that home run. And when you get, when you hit it out of the park and you're like, oh, okay, that's a good one, then you ride that wave as much as you can. And every single successful entrepreneur I know has gone to bat a lot of times.
Yeah, it actually reminds me of a saying that I remember Anthony Robbins saying, and he said, how many chances would you give a child to walk before you stop allowing them to try and make them sit or lie down for the rest of their life?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a strange and funny analogy, but I try to actually consider anything new I'm trying as the same as learning to walk. If I really want it, I'm just going to keep doing it until I make it work. Because, each time you don't make it work, you learn yet another way not to do it, so you can keep trying new things until you find the right way. And I just try and always think of that.
Yeah, that's a great analogy because, with that learning process, I mean, the child, these are all things we take for granted as adults, balance and muscle movement and strength and stuff. But, obviously a baby has to learn those things. So, the first thing a baby's going to do is they're going to try getting up a certain way. It's like, oh, nope, that didn't work. Boom, down on their behind again. Or like, oh, what? If I hold on to this thing over here, I can pull myself up a little bit better and maybe walk along with the help of, oh, now this is helping me balance. Oh, if I move my feet in this way, and sometimes it doesn't work out, but then that's just feedback to their brain of like, okay, well, that didn't work. I have to try moving my feet a different way instead. And, so it's what we call a feedback loop, which is a very important part of success. Try, see the results, have that illuminate the possible paths ahead, choose a path, repeat. And that's how you reach success bit by bit. So the fact that people think you only get one shot, I get it. I understand it. It's an emotional response. We may not even realize that that's inside of us somewhere. But the first step is to be aware of it. And then the second step is to remember some of the things that we've just talked about. But that's probably one of the most insidious little myths that can wedge its way into our brain. And it's just not true. All right, so the 5 myths. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of money. To make money, you have to teach how to make money. Starting an internet business is risky. You only get one shot. I believe we just debunked each of those 5 myths, and in doing so, hopefully helped you maybe find one little thing that was keeping you back from progressing to the next level. And we definitely want to hear about any other myths that maybe have come up in your progress or that you might be facing right now. And you can definitely share those back on the site for this episode 130, in the comments. Share with us if one of these myths has held you back, how you overcame it, or if there's other ones that you've dealt with as well. We definitely want to hear from you. All right, this episode's breakthrough comes from the Academy Mastermind forums. This is a great one also from a niche not related to making money. This one comes from Leon Harrell, and he says, I've been really busy working on my site, 1minutemusiclesson.com. And I've achieved more in a month than I have in the past 2 years on this project. Here's a brief list on this month's achievements. I created a new WordPress hosted site, created 9 new videos for my site. I applied and have been accepted into the iTunes podcasting directory. I've received new signups on my email list and new YouTube subscribers. I've written and sent my first 3 newsletters, and I'm using fastfollowing.com and have been able to grow a Twitter following of over 100 followers.
Yeah.
All of that in a month of June.
Yeah, nice.
Nice. I can't even describe how much the Academy has been pivotal in the amount of work I've done and the success I've had this month. Thanks, Sterling and Jay, for a great Academy, and keep up the good work. Well, thank you, Leon, for sharing those great achievements. That is a lot to get done in a month. And, talking about earlier, the consistency that it takes to just keep moving forward. Those are, all of those great consistent actions that can tell you're on the right trajectory to keep moving very rapidly towards the success that you want. And, that's a great niche. 1 Minute Music Lesson, I think, is an awesome brand name.
Love
really,
it.
really dig it. So thanks, Leon, for sharing that with us. And you can also, one more time, you can check his site out at oneminutemusiclesson.com.
And remember, there's a live question and answer call each month for Academy members where you can ask us anything about starting and running an internet business. If you're not a member, no problem. Just go to internetbusinessmasteryacademy.com and sign up now.
It's time for the Internet Business Quick Tip.
Okay, this episode's quick tip is a little bit different. Usually we give some kind of link or resource that you can go check out. But I thought it'd be really cool to, just because this tip is actually something we just did in this episode. And you might not have realized it, but it's an extremely powerful method, an extremely powerful little strategy that's easy for you to do that will instantly establish you as an expert in your field in the mind of your reader or listener or video watcher, whatever the case may be. So what is it that we just did in this episode that can brand you instantly as an expert? Well, if you look at the title of this episode, it's 5 Internet Business Myths Debunked. So one of the best things that you can do in your content early on to establish yourself as an expert is to shoot down the common myths that your target market, that your target audience is probably assuming about the topic that you're talking about. So just think about, well, what are, those 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe even 7 common misconceptions that my market has about this topic? And, whatever it is in our minds, when somebody can point out where we might be having a little bit of our thinking might be a little bit off, or our assumptions might be a little off, and then somebody shows us the actual way that it really is and how we can overcome that myth or move past it or just replace it with a truth, instantly we're going to see that person as somebody who's delivering us value, who's a leader, who's an expert, who's there helping us out. And that's the kind of connection we're going for in the content that we create. Of course, that's what we teach is, that powerful content marketing in the Academy. But I wanted to share that right here in this quick tip because it's something we did as an example in this episode and something you can do even this week to instantly up your prestige as an expert within your niche. So give that a try. Try debunking some myths in your next blog post or audio or video and see how that works for you.
If you'd like to get dozens of resources such as this one, you can find them in the Internet Business Mastery Academy, along with video tutorials showing you exactly how we use many of them. So to get your risk-free trial membership to the Academy, go to internetbusinessmasteryacademy.com.
You've been listening to the iconoclasts of the 9 to 5 Sterling and Jay. Sterling and Jay invite you to discover one of their most popular video programs ever, the Online Business Freedom Formula. Visit freevideogift.com right now to get instant access to this life-changing video series, pulled directly from the acclaimed Internet Business Mastery Academy membership community. Go now to freevideogift.com. Take control. Make more money. Start an internet business today.